Hello, everybody, and welcome to Angel's Meadow. I am your hostess, Mama D, also known as Darlene, and my guest today is barry-strohm. And you are watching us on thing. You can also see his lovely wife, Connie, who is, of course, the backbone to everything. Because the wives, we support our husbands. Without us, you'd just be waddling in the duck pond. Okay. First off, thank you very much, both of you, for agreeing to come on my show. I know this is a new venue. Last time you were on another show and we didn't have cameras, but this time, like I said, I like to control my destiny. I don't like people to tell me what to do. Hello, Eric. Thank you for coming. For those people who don't know you in the chat room, because we have one guest, you are one of my guests, and there's another guest, and there's Eric and Scott. You want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, Eric.
Well, we've started, Connie and I do board channeling. We use a specially designed spirit board, much different than a Ouija board. And we started about 8-10 years ago doing this. And through the years, we've been able to channel some of the highest spirits. And we've had a lot of luck talking to, important people like Jack Kennedy or George Patton or a lot of other people. We're currently working on a book about the life of Jesus, and we're talking with spirits such as St. Paul, St. Peter, St. Augustine, and we are getting some incredible information about the life of Jesus right now. So Connie and I probably channeled with the other side well over 500 hours at this point, and it's an interesting hobby to say the least. It has generated 4 books for sale right now. My 5th book is at the publishers, should be out in the spring, and that book is entitled Spirits Speak of the Universe, and it'll kind of build on the information that was in my first alien book. It'll get very specific about alien types, interactions that we have with them, different types of the vehicles that they travel in. And there are over 200 types of alien vehicles out there. A lot of very, very interesting information. And it will kind of cross over into spirituality and talk about universal reincarnation and our God of the galaxy. It'll be a very, very different book. And then that book will come out in the spring, and I'm hoping by next winter I can have this book out on the life of Jesus. Because we only know about 1/3 of the life of Jesus covered in the Bible. So there's 2/3 of his life that people have no idea what took place. And that's part of what we'll be writing about.
Very true. Okay. The book that we'll be talking about today is Spirits Speaks of Conspiracies and Mysteries. The picture is in the chat, and I have that book. Okay. There we go. Here's Brian. It's interesting to me because, first off, can you tell people the difference between a spirit board and a Ouija board? Because in the beginning of the book, let's see if I can show this. There's a picture of your spirit board. Let's see. Those people. That's the spirit board, right?
Correct. That's what it looks like.
Okay. So
and the interesting thing about that board is we have actually let the spirits design the board in channeling sessions. So they told us where they wanted the letters, the configuration, what little messages they wanted on it. And they also gave us a prayer of protection that we use. And we start every session with that prayer of protection. So everything we do has been designed by the spirits themselves.
Okay. Now, and the difference between a spirit board and a Ouija board? Because I know everybody says, it's the same thing, spirit board, Ouija board, is just all the same thing. Now, I know it's not.
Well, the concept is similar, but the Ouija board is more of a toy. It was set up by Parker Brothers to sell to the general public. Makes no mention of protections. Quite often you will have, scary type decorations on it. And the Ouija board kind of brings out the thought of being afraid of things and the horrors of it. And the movies come along and they further demonize the use of a channeling board. And that's kind of where we are now. I know people are always telling us that we're not supposed to be doing this because it's demonic. And my answer to them is if it was demonic, we wouldn't be talking to the spirits we talk to.
That's true. We're talking to God and Jesus and the saints and those. But I guess, again, it's you have your prayer of protection. So whereas people who willy-nilly use the Ouija board don't think about these things. So, I mean,
No.
because technically you could use a Ouija board. Now, I have never done that. But you could use a Ouija board for spirit connection, spirit communication. But, again, you'd have to make sure that everything was, all protections and whatnot are in the right places, and you use your prayer of protection. That's like everything else when you connect with spirit. There's always some form of protection that is needed.
I mean, the spirits even told us we have a copy of the prayer of protection fastened to the back of the board. Okay. And that was their recommendation. They said put a copy on the back of the board of it so that you're always protected by the words. And we've had an amazing success with it. We have had some attempts of things to come through for us. The guides have always just shut down the session, and that was the end of it. We're just very well protected in what we do.
Scott in the chat room wrote, the board is neither good nor bad. It's just a doorway or a tool to connect with spirit. A focus for the medium. So that was a question that somebody, which I can't find right now, of course, that somebody asked me to ask. Do you think the messages that you get, and I kind of don't have to answer to this, but I'm going to put it out there. The message that you get, the channeling that you get from spirit, is that the board giving you the message, or is it spirit through your mediumship?
Yeah, and they're reading our energy and doing the movement. On days that Connie or I are tired, the messages can be garbled and we have problems. The spirit board is nothing. It's a tool. Yeah. It allows us to open that channel to the other side. Same thing. Use a ghost box. That's a tool, and that opens a channel to the other side as well. And people don't realize it, but you turn on a ghost box, you can have a problem with a bad spirit coming through as well. It's nothing but a tool. We've reached the point now that I'm often hearing all the letters as they're coming to in my head. Sometimes I get complete messages ahead of time, but I still let them spell it out to verify that what I'm hearing is correct.
Okay. So you could, for all purposes, do the channeling without the spirit board, but it's still part of your tool chest.
We were channeling with one of the saints. I think it was St. Paul. And I was reading his messages in my head. So I said, do you want me just to continue to eliminate using the board and just give me your messages? And he was very distinct. He said, no, we want to continue to use the board because it allows us to give you the message correctly and in detail. So when we're doing it like this, we're not missing any part of it. We always video and audio every one of our sessions. And I have a complete record of every word that I've ever put into any of my books. So we keep very careful records, and it's just an incredible tool. Yeah. But that's all it is. It's just simply a tool.
Understand. Okay. I should have pre-fixed the websites, but I'll get in after. Okay. Let's get to this book, because I've been, normally you read a book from front to back. Well, I sort of like pick and choose the things that sort of like stood and jumped out to me. And, right. Because there's a couple of things in here that I even had questions on. The Devil's Vortex, Ley Lines, and the Bermuda Triangle. Now, I've heard, whoops, okay, before I get to me, Eric's in the chat room. Oh, please, demonic mediums have been using spirit-type boards for a long time, and it's a wonderful tool. The demonic side is, as was stated, a Hollywood invention. It's not that bad spirits don't exist, but the prayer of protection is designed to keep you safe. Very true.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you, Eric.
Ley lines. Okay.
Yes.
What exactly are ley lines? I mean, I read it in your book, and I tried to Google search it, but it was like all complicated.
Well, actually, a ley line is a natural line of energy. Mm-hmm. And there are many different types of ley lines, and there are places on the earth where these energy lines intersect. And as it turns out, where the energy lines intersect seem to be some of the vortexes where we have a lot of mysteries take place. Mm-hmm. There's the Dragon's vortex over near Japan. There's one up in the Bay of Alaska. And of course, the best one's known as the Bermuda Triangle.
Bermuda Triangle, yeah. Because you had one. Where did it go? I was prepared, but I wasn't prepared. I think it sort of brought two of the things together. The missing ship. Not the missing ship, the people from the ship. What happened to the Madeleine Farm? Is that the one? Where there was members on the ship, family members on the ship?
Well, what will happen to them? You get caught in these energy vortexes. In some instances, you can actually find yourself time traveling. In 1945, there was a flight of torpedo bombers flying out of Florida, and they actually got themselves caught into one of these wormhole type vortexes, mm-hmm. and it pushed them far ahead, and they were out to sea and ran out of fuel and didn't know where they were. One of the best examples of time travel was happened to a gentleman by the name of Bruce Cannon. He was flying from Andros to Miami Beach, and when he flew over Bimini, he noticed that there were some really bizarre storm clouds in front of him, and Miami radar had him as he was going over Bimini. Now, he is flying a small airplane capable of going 200 miles per hour. He's trying to get through this storm, so he sees what looks to him like a hole in the clouds. Mm-hmm. He flies into this hole, and the next thing he knows, he's over Miami Beach. And for him to have done that physically, that plane would have had to go 2,000 miles per hour. His fuel consumption was a third of what it should have been. And he actually got himself into one of these natural wormholes and traveled ahead in time. It's well recorded, and that is probably the finest example of time travel that I've ever been able to research.
Scott in the chat room says, Glastonbury by us is a nexus point. We have friends who have a retreat built on 2 ley lines, and of course Stonehenge is near us, near the southwest of England.
Yes, yeah. A lot of the structures in early pyramids are actually built on ley lines.
Okay. I always learn something new on my shows. It was what I was talking about was the disappearance of the Mary Celeste channeling that you did.
The Mary Celeste just simply got caught up in one of those vortexes, and it's possible that it's like they've run into this violent storm all of a sudden, mm-hmm. and it can actually form something like a vortex in the ocean, and the ships just simply get sucked in. And quite often the energy problems that go with it keep them from doing radio communication. And the disappearances in all of the major vortexes are very similar. We had people disappear up in the Bay of Alaska. We had I forget the guy's name, but we even had a congressman disappear and was never seen again. It can happen all over the world, anywhere that these ley lines intersect. It's not just the three of them. There's like 13 or 14 different vortexes. With my memory, I can't even remember what I write anymore, but they're all around the world, including down in Antarctica.
Well, you have some off of Alaska.
Yeah, I wrote about three in particular. The one was Bermuda, off Japan, the Dragon Triangle, and then the one up in the Bay of Alaska.
Now, when you channeled this book, okay, now did you? Okay, first let's take a step back again. Were all your books channeled?
The first one was not. My first book was called Haunting and History of the Battle of Gettysburg, and that was basically my primer for all this. That consisted of me being on the battlefield, taking photographs, and getting familiar with the spirit world, so to speak. But we had to get that book out of the way before we could get on with some of these other things. Afterlife, what really happens on the other side, was my second book, and that was where we started channeling in earnest, and they were more than welcome to give us the information, and a lot of interesting stuff in that book as well. It's all based on what they told us about being on the other side. Okay.
Now, in this book, this is different channeling sessions. Sorry. So, is it always from the same person that you channel?
No. No, we have different guides. It depends on what the subject matter is going to be. But we all have master guides. We have one guide by the name of Roz that has probably been at most of our sessions. Lately we've been channeling with a female master guide by the name of Laura. And she specializes in spirituality. So she's been with us for the last couple months.
Okay, in the book you asked, I'm going to hopefully pronounce this right, Mou, M-O-U? Or Moo?
Moo. Moo, that's my buddy.
Moo. Okay, so he is, because I've seen his name used a few times in this book. So yes. He's like...
Well, Moo is my alien friend. Okay. And the basis of that, the reason we can channel aliens, is because aliens have the same souls that humans have. And we are very, very big into reincarnation, and I can actually prove multiple prior lives. Moo came to us, and since he was a human soul that just chose to have reincarnated on another planet, we were able to talk to him, and he freely gave us information on the alien world. And that is how I wrote my third book, Aliens Among Us, Exploring Past and Present. Moo basically gave us all the information for that book which was the third one that I wrote. He has also played a critical role in this new book that's at the publisher, and probably 75% of the information in that book Moo also gave me. He's been incredibly helpful, brought other aliens in to speak with us, told us a lot of things.
Okay.
And go ahead.
When you do channeling, when you're not just doing it for the books, can people come to you and say, I'd like to have a channeling session with you?
Yeah, we'll do private channeling sessions with people. We generally do it over Skype. We don't do much of it because we're obviously pretty busy right now. But we have channeled over Skype with people as far away as South Africa. Distance means absolutely nothing in this. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. He was over 8,000 miles away from us, and we gave him personal information. Told him we had absolutely no way of knowing.
Okay, so this person was calling you to connect with his family who had crossed over.
Yes, he wanted to connect with his family, and he had personal questions to ask his guide. We actually brought his personal guide in for him, and then we stand back and he asked questions of his guide, and we just gave him the answers.
And what if somebody doesn't know who their guide is? I know I kind of go off the book.
Well, most people don't know who your guide is. We will simply ask for his guide, and then we get his name. It's really that simple. We ask him what their name is, and he introduces himself. Of quite often that's the first time a person has even realized that they have a lifetime guide.
I think we're going to have to talk after the show. Yeah, because that's interesting to me because I know I have what I call my dream team, but I don't know specifically who they are and guides and gatekeepers and all the words right now are leaving my brain.
Yeah, they're multifunctional. The concept of guides is really quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
One night I asked, how many guides do I have? And the answer came back, as many as you need. On another night, I had a whole list of questions made up for book research. And on that particular evening, we had 12 different guides come in with information. No one guide knows everything.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys specialize over on the other side just the same as we have specialists here.
Scott in the chat room says, I don't believe in coincidence, but over the last few weeks, we have seen many unrelated program types which have been mentioned, the things you are talking about, Bermuda Triangle, ley lines, and some others you mentioned at the start. And looking back over the last few months, other hidden, forgotten, alternative belief type knowledge has become mainstream. In my lifetime, the acceptance of it is really snowballing and speeding up. It's getting so much faster. Do you think, from what you have learned, channeled, the end of day scenario is coming, or ascension, or general upward shift of enlightenment for the planet?
Okay. Let me address these one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Since I am writing a book about Jesus, we have discussed whether he would be returning or whether there was going to be an end of days. First of all, you don't have to worry about the end of days thing. That was put into the Bible. I mean, Revelations was not even believed by Constantine at Nicaea when he selected the Gospels. They put Revelations in like 150 years after Nicaea. There's not going to be an end of days. That may come as a shock to everybody because everyone said we were going to die yesterday and it didn't happen.
I said not till after my show.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I'm really happy we made it. Jesus tells us that there's a universal energy of God that is within all of us. Mm-hmm. He does not have to return in incarnate form again. And we are told that he will not assume an incarnate body. There's really no need for it because of the universal energy thing. I'm looking at the question, it was so long at this point. But anyway, there's not, the rapture thing is not going to take place. You know, the one thing, now we've been doing some very serious channeling on this, and we have actually had Jesus come through for us on 3 different occasions. I have the videos of the sessions, and one of these days I'm even going to post that so people can see it. It was an absolutely amazing sensation for us. But when he comes through, all he speaks of is love. He is a God of love.
Yeah. And
organized religions teach nothing but fear. You have to worry that he's going to return and we're all going to go to hell. First of all, there's no hell, so we don't have to worry about that. There's 7 realms on the other side, of which there is a lower realm that you don't want to go to. But there's no fire and brimstone hell. That was brought in by the churches so that everybody would fear what would happen to them if they were bad. Mm-hmm. Your soul keeps returning. It keeps reincarnating because your soul energy has to learn. It has to experience different emotions, different thoughts, different relationships, just everything in the human criteria. And you cannot do it in a single lifetime, obviously. You have to come back as male, as female. You have to live short lifetimes. You have to live long lifetimes. You have to literally live thousands of lifetimes to experience all this. Now, not only does your soul have to experience different feelings and emotions of earth, if you're going to become more like God and rise to the upper realms on the other side, you also have to experience relationships on other planets and emotions that you never even thought of. I'm going to give you something to think about. The soul energy is basically eternal, been here forever. Mm-hmm. Now, humans have only been on Earth for about 200,000 years. Where do you think your soul energy was before there were humans on this Earth? Well, the answer is you were on other planets. We have been told in our prior life work that both Connie and I have been on other planets multiple times. Lou told me that I was on his planet one time in a prior life. He lived on our planet 10,000 years ago. He came here to do a short lifetime. So the concept of universal reincarnation is very, very complex, and I've devoted an entire chapter in my book at the publisher to universal reincarnation, explaining how it works and what you have to do for soul advancement. It's really very different from what most people think it is.
I'm gonna have to get a copy of that book. Tell your publisher, hurry up, Mama D needs a copy.
What's that?
I said, tell your publisher that to hurry up and publish it because I want a copy.
Well, we're working on it. I saw the cover the other day, and I saw the catalog write-up, so they're working on it. It's got a great cover. I think it's one of the best covers we did. It's coming out in hardcover again. My publishers thought enough to be doing my books in hardcover, which I appreciate. Hope a couple people buy them to help pay for them, but that's another story.
Yeah. Well, I like books. I'm not into. I can't read it on. I mean, I have read it on a PDF, like on my computer screen and on a Kindle, but I like to actually hold it and follow the words in this way. I make notes on a computer. I can't do that. So yeah, for me, it's got to be an actual hold it in my hand, take a turn the page book.
Well, that's one thing I like about my publisher, Schiffer Publishing. They do not do video books or audio books, okay, or do it on or ebooks. Everything is either soft or hardcover in real book format. So he is resisting getting involved with all the ebook things, and I applaud him for it.
And this is Schiffer Publishing.
Yes, so Schiffer Publishing.
Yeah, Schiffer. Okay, I'm very happy with it. One of the things in the book, like I said, we're going to jump all over the place because you know me, that's the way I work. I can't sit still. Bigfoot. Okay, I've seen so many TV shows, Bigfoot hunters, and they're standing in the middle of the forest. No, I mean, I can't help but giggle. You know, I mean, I believe in Bigfoot. I have no doubt that there is Bigfoot out there. But I think he's smart enough to not go near somebody who's howling in the woods like a big baboon. But yours, in your book, I don't have my notes. I have my notes in front of me. It says, you asked, does Bigfoot really exist? And they are ape-like species, but not as developed as human. And they are multi-dimensional. So they're not. So that means that they're here, but they can go elsewhere.
Yes, so they're here, and they're also capable of being there.
Okay.
So they're here and there, and they have the trick of moving between multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
There's so much going on around us in other dimensions that we are incapable of seeing. Mm-hmm. Animals see in the infrared spectrum, and that's why animals can see ghosts. I mean, our cats will be sitting there, and all of a sudden their eyes are bulging out, and they're looking at something, and they're seeing spirits in the infrared spectrum. So not only are there visual limits to what we can see, mm-hmm. there are dimensional limits to what we can see as well. There's multiple dimensions around us.
Now you brought up the cats.
And Bigfoot has learned to move between those dimensions. They're afraid of humans. Even though they're big, when they see humans, they just drop back between that dimension.
Yeah.
And if something happens to one, they drag the body back over in that dimension. But that's they're very real. I mean, they're out there. People are yelling for them, and they aren't seeing them, and that's why.
No, like I said, aside from the fact that they can jump to another dimension and not just stay here, like as it was, oh my God, saw Bigfoot. You might have seen him there 5 minutes ago, but because you screamed or shouted or did whatever it is you did, that he or she has decided to go back over to the other dimension because you are like a non-hairy, scary-looking person screaming like a banshee.
Yeah, well, one way to think of it like an apparition, a ghost apparition that you see. It's solid in front of you, and all of a sudden it's simply gone. They've changed that dimension. I mean, we see it all the time here at the store. Our antique gallery is so haunted. We watch spirits every night on the security cameras when we shut down, and you will see these big ectoforms, and they'll go across it. All of a sudden, they hit the center of the floor and just simply disappear, and they make that interdimensional change. And Bigfoot's doing much the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, you brought up your cats. Now, you've talked about your cats before. Let everybody know about your cats.
Okay.
It's not the first time you've had these kitties.
No. We had a wonderful cat, and his name was Bodacious. He was a male Tonkinese purebred, most affectionate animal, and we lost him about, I guess it's about 9 years. 10 years ago. About 9-10 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And about 3 years ago, we realized that we could actually channel with animals. So I asked for the presence of our cat's name was Bodie, and I asked for Bodie one night, and the answer comes in, I thought you'd never ask. I mean, he was simply waiting over there for us to talk to him. Okay. So we actually, for a couple of years, channeled with the spirit of our animal. And I tried to bribe him to come back early, and he wouldn't do it.
His answer was, I need a proper home. And he did not consider our 3-room apartment proper. Yeah. He wants to go back to Utah.
So, I mean, they really have a mind of their own. Mm-hmm. So anyway, one night I'm talking to Bodie, and I said, okay, when are you coming back? So he says, I will come to you in 13 months. I will come as a black kitten, and I will find you at the store. Okay? That's a pretty big order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, 13 months go by, and I'm figuring on where in the world is our little cat. We're waiting for him. Mm-hmm. So we're working with another psychic named Donna. And Donna was over here with us, and we were on the channeling board, and I asked the guide, I said, is Bodie back? And the guide comes in and says, is this Bodie you speak of a cat? And all of a sudden Donna goes, oh my God, I've seen him and I know where he is. I said, what do you mean? Well, Donna's father is buried at a cemetery down in Baltimore. And she'd been down the prior week working on his grave, goes over to the caretakers, and the ladies there in the office said, we have some kittens here, some feral kittens. Would you like to have some kittens? And Donna says, no, but I'd love to see them. She walks over, and this little black kitten comes up onto the porch, walks out to the center of it, and stares at her, and goes back under. Now, at that time, Donna had no clue what was happening. Mm-hmm. But when we talked to this on the channeling board, they put it in her head, and she goes, I know exactly where your kitten is. So we called down, and we said, okay, we're going to come down and pick our cat up. So Connie and I drive to Baltimore.
How long between where you live to Baltimore? How long?
It's about a 2-hour drive to Baltimore. Okay. So we drive down, go in, and we are armed. We have our cat carrier. We got a can of wet food, everything you need to entice a cat. Mm-hmm. So we go over to the porch. This little black kitten walks out, comes to the center of the porch, sits and stares right at Connie and says, hi, I'm back, and then runs right back under the porch. So we go, okay, so we got our wet food out. This guy is not coming out for anything. And we wind up having to drive back up here to the store without our kitten. We're coming up the road, and there were 3 other kittens there. This beautiful orange kitten was with him. So Connie and I both get the idea about the same time. He wants us to bring one of his litter mates along for company. So, okay, so we come up, call back down, and we say, look, we're going to come back down, and we're going to take one of the other litter mates, to keep him company when we're not with him. Mm-hmm. So a couple of days later, we drive down. Bodie walks out on the porch. This little orange kitten walks out with him. We take both of them, and we're out of there in less than 15 minutes with 2 cats. So anyway, now we got our Bodie, this little black kitten, and this is how he finds us. And he found us within 1 week of the 13 months that he said he would return.
Okay.
So now we got this, and we were telling all our friends, and they're going, oh yeah, right, you're going to have a black kitten. Well, now we got this black kitten at exactly the time. So anyway, now we have an orange cat too, and we're having trouble naming the orange cat. So Donna comes over for another channeling session, and I called her and I said, look, we're having trouble naming this other kitten. And she goes, oh, I know exactly what name that cat wants. I've been hearing a name in my head for 2 days. Mm-hmm. I said, well, Donna, what name are you hearing? And she says, oh, he wants to be named Ginger. And I went, wait a minute. Ginger was the name of my daughter's dog that died 10 years ago. Okay. So we go on the channeling board and we go, is that little orange cat by any chance the soul of my daughter's dog? And the answer comes back, yes. So as it turns out, we wind up adopting 2 kittens, both of which the souls have come from our animal soul family. And we've got them here, and they are just magnificent little animals. We laugh all the time at them.
Just put their picture in the chat room. And
now that we have them, we have the ability to channel with them all the time. So if we got the channeling board on our table over in the apartment, we'll be talking, and all of a sudden, one of the cats will jump up on the table, and they'll just sit and look at me. And I'll know they had this message, and I'll say, okay, what do you guys got? And out will come a message from one of them. The other night we were channeling, and Leo, the orange kitten, jumps up and looks at me. I says, okay, Leo, what do you want? And he spells out, right now, feed us. So he wanted to be fed.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's 90% of their messages. They want to be fed, and they want us to stay in the apartments. They like company.
Yeah, we were over at the store here, and we had some people that had paid for a conference. And right in the middle of the session, all of a sudden it spells out, come over here right now and feed us. And I went, Bodie, is that you? Yes. And they just break in on us. When we're on that channeling board, they know they can come through. We had another really interesting experience that I thought was so cool. One night, and I think this was the first night we really had Jesus come through for us. And we were in the middle of all these, we were getting these incredible messages. And Leo jumps up on the table. And we had a chair close to the table, and he has never ever done this before. He leans over on the back of the chair and knocks the chair over. And there's this huge crash. And here we got the big guy on the board. And our cats disrupted the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So Connie says to him, the next time you come through, would you like us to lock the cats up so that we're not, so that they don't interfere with your messages? And his answer was, no, they are my children as well. It was just so cool. He apparently gets a kick out of them too.
Well, everybody likes kittens. And I personally, not that I have anything against Bodie, because I think Bodie is adorable, because I have a black cat that is on my back porch and has been coming there for about 4 years now. And I call her Normalette, and I'll get out of my car, whatever time I get home at the end of my shift at work, I'll call her Normalette, and she'll come running, and I'll say, you want your little scratch? She'll come over, get her scratch, and I say, okay, go back to the back porch, and I feed her in the back porch. She knows her routine. Actually, I think I know her routine.
Yeah, that's more like it. We get trained by them.
Mm-hmm. Well, they say, what is it? A dog is a man's best friend, but a man is a cat's servant.
Yes, I've heard that. I like that.
Yeah, really. Well, an interesting thing about Bodhi, before she came back, I said to her, are you still going to be a black kitten? And he answered, I am, but would you like me to be another color? So she actually offered to come back as another color. And I said, no, I like black cats. That'll be fine. Just come as you are. And he did. Except now that the he in Prior is a she in this one. And the orange cat that was a male dog in Prior or female dog in Prior is now a male cat. So, but interesting, Leo, the orange cat, was a golden retriever in Prior. So he actually maintained the same color that he was in Prior Life as a Dog.
And he's adorable. Actually, they both are. Now you've channeled animals before, aside from Bodhi and Leo.
Yes.
Is there any other animal that sort of stands out in your mind?
Well, I think the one that might stand out in my mind the most was the first that I ever channeled. We were doing a session here, and we had this 8-year-old girl, incredible psychic energy, some of the strongest I have ever seen. Her mother's a medium, so her mother and the girl were with us on the board. And I'm actually on the board with her mother, and the girl's sitting next to me, and she says, do you care if I try to talk to my pets? And I said, no, we'll go for that. So she says, is Cupcake there? And the board spells out, hello, yes, I love you. And I said, is that Cupcake? Yes. So I asked her mom, I said, okay, what's Cupcake? And believe it or not, Mom says Cupcake was her hamster. I'm going, holy crap. Now we're channeling we're channeling a freaking hamster. So anyway, so she says, can we try another one? Sure. We did so well with that. So she names another pet. And this one comes in and it goes, hello, I love you, and I am sorry. So I said to the mother, I said, well, what's this all about? And she said, well, that happens to be her dog that died, and the dog just apologized for killing the hamster. Yep, the dog had killed the hamster and came in to say he was sorry.
And now they're together over there.
Oh, yeah. Everybody gets along over there. Pretty much.
Of all the people that you've channeled, is there anyone non-celebrity that stands out in your mind? Because I'm going to wait for the celebrity because that's going to be big, I'm sure. But non-celebrity that has not only shocked the person who you're channeling for, but yourself as well, like something really like.
Yeah, we had a couple come to us one time. Had never met them before. Mm-hmm. And we started a channeling session, and I was working with another psychic with it at it. And we started getting this message from a spirit that was asking for them. And the psychic says, I'm reading that this is the spirit of a baby. And I asked the couple, I said, did you ever lose a child, a baby? And they said, we did lose one in vitro. We never really knew what the sex was of it or anything. Mm-hmm. So we got on the board, and it turns out we are now channeling with the spirit of the baby that they lost. And the baby, obviously he's not a baby now, yeah. But the question is, did you ever have what were you going to name me? Spells out on the board. And the parents are really caught off guard. So, what was the name? Clyde or something like that. So anyway, the father says, well, if it was a boy, we were going to name it Clyde. And the spirit comes back on the channeling board and says, thank you. Now I have a name.
Oh.
So we actually gave not only comfort to the couple that night, but we gave comfort to the spirit on the other side because he had been nameless for like 15 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's one for the memory banks.
Yeah, we've had some other pretty amazing ones too.
Have you ever had a channeling session where just you and Connie were doing something, you didn't have anybody who wanted a specific message or anything, and that somebody came through with a message for somebody that you had to reach out and say, hey, I'm Barry and this is Connie, and
Well, we actually sometimes we'll get messages that we're supposed to channel with other people, but we're very lucky in that we can channel almost on demand with our family members. Okay. I talk to my father. I talk to my mother. Connie speaks with her grandfather, and one of Connie's spiritual advisor happens to be Mother Teresa. So she has the ability quite often to have a little conversation with Mother Teresa. We lead a pretty cool life right now.
A little.
We're not the cool ones. It's just the things that happen to us are cool.
But it's the same. It's kind of sort of the same thing. Because without you guys channeling, the messages wouldn't come through, the books wouldn't happen, and we, everything wouldn't happen. So, to me,
they've been pretty clear. We've been sent back on a very specific mission, and it's taken. I'm 75 now, so it's taken about 75 years for us to learn what we are really, what Connie and I are really here for. She and I have been together in 6 or 7 prior lifetimes. So it's not the first time we've been together. And I think we've been married, 53 years now or something? Almost 53 years.
In this lifetime.
This lifetime, yes.
In this lifetime. So as you say, there are no coincidences. Everything is pretty much laid out for us. And when we got into the channeling thing, the guides actually told us, she said, we expect you to write 11 books.
Holy cats.
Yeah, and I said, holy mackerel, I can't write that many. I'm old now. And these are the exact words of the guide. He came back and he said, yes, you are an old fart. You can retire when you're 99.
I like this guy. Those are words I use quite often to certain friends of mine.
Oh yeah, no, they've got a great sense of humor. It's just they were human. You're talking to humans. They're just on the other side of the veil.
Exactly. So that sort of leads into a question that the show I did last week. If somebody was an ass in their lifetime here, would they still be an ass when they cross over as a spirit?
I'd say that again.
If they're an ass on this life, are they going to be an ass when they pass over?
Pretty much. They told us one time that dying doesn't make you smarter. It just puts you on the other side. Okay. Now, they can redirect you once they get you over there. They do a bit of a review, and then they're going to put you in a realm. So it's going to give you, if you're in realm 2, it's going to give you some pretty good incentive not to be an ass when when you come back.
I'm nice in this realm.
We were talking with one of the saints the other night, and historically, the Pharisees were the ones that were really responsible for the death of Jesus. Pontius Pilate actually tried to save his life, and he just kind of threw it over to the Pharisees, which were the Jewish priests of the time. So I asked, I think it was St. Paul, I said, what happened to the Pharisees that had Jesus killed? And he said, well, they were sent to the lowest level. And I said, are they out yet? And he gave me a very clear no. So for the last 2,000 years, those boys have been down there thinking about what they did. And I don't think there's much hope of them coming back out.
In my books, the lowest level is filled with snow, so they're just shoveling a lot of snow.
I
just don't make sense.
Could be.
Scott in the chat room asked, why is so much information like yours coming out now? So why is Spirit coming? Because,
well, for one reason is the information was available, but the technology wasn't capable of passing it on. So it seems like there's much more information, but it's just the ease with which we can put the information out. Yeah. The second reason is we're getting very close to alien disclosure, for one thing. They tell us it's going to be within 2 years.
Alien disclosure is?
Means that they're going to, you're going to find out you got aliens all around you.
Okay, so aliens are going to let us know that they're here, not the goony birds that have been hiding all the information.
What's happening down in Antarctica is probably going to force the information to come out. Which just happens to be a chapter in my next book, but we'll skip over that.
Now, next book's coming out, you're coming back.
But the veil is also thinning. Souls are progressing in their knowledge and their advancement. And these souls are coming back, and they're better capable of communicating with the other side. And we are now at a point that we can pass on that communication. So, I mean, we're sitting here tonight talking on the internet, and 20 years ago, we couldn't have done that. In 1938, when Orson Welles did War of the Worlds, it was just simply a radio show, and it still panicked everybody. But, as mass communication grows, the ability to get our messages out is now available to us.
Yeah, because without the communication ability, the abilities of the internet, everything else, we would never have met. I would never have known half the people that I know, and I would never have a radio show. So yeah, it's like, but that's a phrase that I keep hearing, the thinning of the veil. Now, I know that there's this world and the other side, or the higher side of life, as Eric calls it. Why is it thinning out now? Now, I know for me the biggest ta-da was supposed to be in 2012, and that's when Mama D came out of the closet, But why is it now that it's happening?
Because man is now progressing, and in order for him to truly evolve, he needs this expanded understanding. He needs to have a better understanding of what God really is and what God means for us. He needs to understand that the aliens are here to help us and that they're not here to do us harm. If the aliens wanted to harm us, we'd be long gone with their technologies. But it's a part of the informational thing. Man, to exist in the long run, has got to learn to travel the stars. There's going to be a time that the sun is going to burn out and our planet will die. I mean, that's what every planet has a lifespan. And when that happens and our planet becomes uninhabitable, our only hope is to go to other planets. For instance, I'm told that the Greys have lost their home planet. And that's why there's so many of them out there. It's because they really have no home to go back to. Okay. And they've colonized some other planets, but the one in which was their original home is gone. Mu has told us there have been aliens on this earth since the time of the dinosaurs. So they've been here a long time. That's 65 million years plus.
Yeah. So is it possible, because I'm going to go with all those movie things, that aliens live among us and in human form, but they're actually alien?
They're called Palladians or shapeshifters. There's 3 different types of aliens that are shapeshifters, and you cannot tell the difference.
Stuff I have to search. I've seen the word Palladians used many times, and I never understood it. So now I understand.
What the term shapeshifter?
No, Palladian.
Oh, it's a type of alien. They're just you cannot tell a Palladian from from an ordinary human. As a matter of fact, most humans have got alien blood in their system. They just don't realize it.
Scott in the chat room says, we are seated on this planet and we have the alien beings. Try it again. Were we seated on this planet and have the alien beings altering our genes and implanting knowledge, etc.? Is there an elder race?
They have, yes, we are seated on this planet. There were 3 attempts at seeding this planet. One attempt was actually made when the planet was covered with water, and that is why you see that certain aquatic mammals, like dolphins, for instance, manatees, there are different types of mammals in the sea, and that is a result of that attempt. They realized that seeding was not going to work, so they came in and they did different seedings. There were 3 attempts, and the humans are the 3rd attempt.
Okay. And is there an elder race? Hey, Nancy.
Is an elder race? Not that I'm aware of.
Mouse. I've got 2 mouses here. Cool. Thanks for coming, Nancy. You'll catch up in the archives. Scott is a major sci-fi fan.
Well, I never was much of a sci-fi fan until I started to talk to aliens. And I have actually, Connie is actually an abductee, and I have actually seen a real one. So we're pretty much into it right now. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it's not the fiction anymore. It's alien presence is very, very real. And when you understand certain events that take place, you understand many more people are affected by aliens than you will ever believe.
That I'm sure. Now, you sort of opened up I hope I can ask you, Connie, about being an abductee.
Yeah.
Well, this
He
happened.
started it.
Yes, he did. This happened approximately 18 years ago. We lived down South Florida at the time. I took him to the airport one morning, and to the airport, we took him down to
Fort
Lauderdale, and we lived north of West Palm Beach. So as I was driving back up Interstate 95 on my way back home at rush hour, and people who are not familiar with that, it's very, very busy. I took note to one exit as I was passing, and the next thing I was aware of was I was coming to an exit, two exits further north. And it was like I had been asleep, but when you're asleep, you wake up sort of slowly. With me, it was like someone pushed a button and I was immediately awake.
Okay.
I thought, ooh, I wonder what the heck that was. So I went to my cardiologist. He did a 24-hour monitor on me. Mm-hmm. He said, I can't see anything, Connie. He said, you must have fallen asleep. But my mind is saying, how can a person fall asleep while driving a car on 4 busy lanes and not wreck the car and take themselves out plus other people? Mm. And after a while, I got tired of trying to solve the mystery, so I just kind of forgot about it. And one evening, we were channeling with Moo, and Barry asked if either he or I had ever been taken. Moo doesn't like the term abduction because that's negative. Mm-hmm. And he said, yes, Connie was. And as soon as he said that, I knew exactly what he was talking about. And I said, Moo, how come the car didn't wreck? And he says, it's easy when you know how. I said, okay, how? And his answer was one word, shapeshifters. So evidently shapeshifters took over from me in the car while they took me for what Moo prefers to call a learning session. So that was the only one I was ever aware of. And I was not aware of anything going on during my visit to the spaceship or wherever they took me.
Okay. So you can't say it was good, bad, or indifferent because you don't remember it. It was just like...
That's correct.
Almost like a blink of an eye. But
yeah, total unconsciousness.
Because the space was different. You knew that you were here when you, 1 second, and the next second you were like further down the road where it just didn't make, so it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I have read different things from different people who've had something very similar happen to them. Okay. So it's probably happened to a lot of people. At least I was able to be told and able to figure out what happened.
So and Barry, you were not ever taken?
Well, they tell me that I've had sessions with them, but basically I think it's just, they can come to you in dreams, they can insert things in your mind. They don't have to take your body for all different types of, there are many, many different types of abductions. I actually have a chapter about them in my current book. It's out, Aliens Among Us.
Okay.
And, there's a lot of ways to do it, but there's no question that, they play a role in some of the things. I'll wake up and I've got all this stuff in my head that has to come out. And you know that wasn't there when you went to sleep, and they got all these things they want you to do and suggestions. And I know darn well a lot of it's not my own thought pattern. Yeah. Interestingly, what they can do is amazing. When I first met Moo, he told me that he was here to help me write. And he said, call me about an hour before you want to sit down and write, and I will get into your head. And if I don't like what you're writing, I will give you blurry vision or make your nose itch.
Oh, nice.
So, and I thought, okay, we're going to try this one. So I called for him, and I'm sitting there, and the words are just flying out, and I can't write that fast. Mm-hmm. I wrote the whole concluding chapter for the Alien book in about 3 hours. And I mean, the words just absolutely flew out, and every once in a while my nose would start to itch, and I'd change track. And he was helping me write. He was physically in my head. So, I finished the chapter up, and the next morning, Connie and I both woke up early, and I was talking about this. So I said, let's go have breakfast. So we go to this family restaurant here in town, mm-hmm. and I'm sitting there having breakfast, and all of a sudden I see this blue flash in the chair next to me. And I went, Connie, I just saw Moo. And she goes, yeah, right, in a family restaurant. They must have alcohol in those pancakes. Mm-hmm. So anyway, at that time we were channeling with the people that taught us out in Salt Lake. Mm-hmm. So I've got to figure this one out. So we get on Skype with them. Now they have the channeling board in Salt Lake City. We're in Pennsylvania, mm-hmm. and they know absolutely nothing what has taken place.
Okay.
So I asked for Moo's presence, and Moo starts out by saying, hello from the blue flash. So he absolutely verified for me that I had seen him sitting in the damn family restaurant. So,
but he wanted breakfast too?
Yeah. He stands 9.5 foot, so it was a pretty big flash of light.
For sure. Now Moo is your most, is the guide who connects with you the most.
Yeah, well, Moo is actually part of our soul family. His soul is from our soul family. He told us that he and Connie were actually brothers and sisters in one lifetime.
So you can call him brother.
It's kind of cool.
Not bad. I have a brother right now who's an alien. I have one, but he's not an alien.
But doesn't everybody see aliens?
No, I don't.
Well,
but I'm one of the few who doesn't.
Well, I saw a real reptilian one time. It was about 2 years ago, and it was the middle of the night, and we were asleep in our apartment, and we always sleep with a pretty good nightlight, mm-hmm. and something woke me up, and I sat up and I looked over, and here is this reptilian standing by the side of the bed, looking down at Connie. So I'm thinking, man, I must be dreaming this one. So I shake my head, make sure I'm awake, and I look over at him again, and he looks at me and smiles. I can see him smile. And then all of a sudden, I'm knocked out, and that's the end of it. So I wake up the next morning, and I'm thinking, man, that was really weird. Did I dream it? Did I see it? What happened?
Yeah.
And I know with these experiences we have of abductions that I'm thinking, well, maybe Connie went for another trip, you know. So that night, we once again get on the board with our friends out in Salt Lake City. Mm-hmm. Now, they know nothing has taken place once again. And I did not even tell Connie that the alien had smiled at me. Okay. I thought that was really stretching things, even for me. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they're on the board in Salt Lake. We're on Skype. Connie and I are in Pennsylvania. So once again, I asked for Moo, and I said, Moo, did I see a real alien? And he answers on the board in Salt Lake City, yes. And did you see him smile at you? So that was a pretty clear answer.
Yeah, exactly. Scott in the chat room says his wife has seen cat people.
Well, there's 250 different varieties of aliens, so it's we've only seen a small fraction of them.
250?
Yeah. Moose said that we were talking about spaceships one night. There's over 200 types. They range in size from the size of a baseball to one that's the size of the United States.
Dang.
And I asked him, I said, well, how many different types are on the one the size of the United States? And he said around 250. There are types that we, can't imagine. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the Nazca lines down in Peru?
Nope.
They are these prehistoric lines that are in the desert, and they are absolutely huge. The area is like 10 miles by 10 miles, and you have to be in an airplane to see them to appreciate the shapes.
Okay.
But there is a shape of a large spider in the desert down there, very clearly formed with everything. And in my alien book that's out, I do a chapter on Nazca, and I asked Moo what these different images stand for, because there's a monkey, there's a spaceman, and there's the spider. So I said, Moo, what does the spider stand for? And he said, that is the image of the aliens that were present at the time they did these.
Okay, I just did a Google search on it. So yeah, let me just copy and paste, put it into the chat room. So if anybody who's listening in the archives can actually go and check it out. That's what I did, a Google search. And wow.
And that's it. I asked him, I said, well, how tall did these Spider-Men stand? And he said 6 foot. So imagine a 6 foot tall spider running up and down the road. That would get your attention.
Yeah, for sure. I have a friend who's petrified of spiders, so it's a good thing she's not in the chat room right now.
Well, you search Nazca spider, and you can see it.
Yeah, I saw it. Okay. I'm not afraid of any creature. Well, man, maybe. But spiders, if they're in my house, I will catch them and release them outside.
Well, this one wouldn't even get through your doorway, so.
Yeah, no, it would be sitting on top of my roof. Going, hey, Darlene, come out and play.
Well, everybody better get ready, because someday we're going to be interacting with aliens just like we interact with other humans today.
Let's see, why not? Okay. In the chat room, Texas Pro, hey, Sweeney, asked, where did you come up with the 250 varieties? Did you get the answer to that, Pearl? Hopefully. And yes, we have a lot to learn. Because it was Moo, his guide, who told him there was 250 varieties. Okay. When is that? When is what, sweetie? Oh, that we'll start talking to aliens.
It's not going to be overnight, because there's a lot of getting used to once you realize they're there. They tell us probably within 2 years now, that we will have alien disclosure, which they'll break it in slowly to us. Probably that they got a communication from outer space when it was probably coming from Antarctica or one of the ships that are zipping around here. We've actually had an agreement with the aliens since our 10th president of the United States. There's actually a constitution that we have with the foreign bodies. We've been working with them for a long time. It's just one of the great well-kept secrets. Part of the agreement is that we keep the secret, and they have the right to study us and to assist us in our evolution.
Okay. Will they communicate? Do they communicate or speak telepathically, or do they actually speak? Well, in this case, Mu is telepathically to the spirit lord.
Yeah. Well, Mu is he's a soul. Right? I talk to him like we talk to any other soul. When you do actually start to communicate with them physically, it will be telepathically, or they will speak to you. It'll be however we're so far behind them. They're going to have to speak to us to understand us until we learn how to communicate and open our minds telepathically.
And she asks, where is the Constitution kept?
We probably don't have a physical copy of it. Actually, General Eisenhower negotiated the agreement during World War II because there's so much going on at that time. There's actually a level above the president in security because presidents come and go, and this type of information is just so well kept. So there's a lot to learn.
I'm sure, because again, not every president is willing to listen to the idea of aliens and that we share. Some presidents be like, yeah, okay, whatever, and some others be like, So it's better that it's not one person that has the control of it. So kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I go into pretty good detail about all this in my books.
I put a link to your website. I put a link to your website. And here's Spirits Predict.
Yes, that's my website, spiritspredict.com.
As well, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, about having a channeling session, they can email you.
Yeah, there's my emails on there, or they can go to the pages and actually physically see our board. We have links where you can watch videos of live sessions. Ton of information on the website. There's one page where I historically prove my last prior life. There's another page on board channeling itself, explains. You can see our prayer protection, and any of you that are involved in the paranormal can feel free to use the prayer. It's been 100% effective for us.
And the prayer protection is where on this, in this site?
That'll be on the board channeling page.
Okay.
There's a bunch of pages there.
Okay, so in the future, would you? I didn't put you out. I swear to God. Don't ask Brian. Would you, in the future, possibly be willing to come back on and do a channeling session on the show? Yeah,
we can do that. We can put our camera on the channeling board. We've done numerous live channeling sessions on the radio with calling questions, and our guides are very good. Laura's been with us lately as the guide, and she has been amazing at nailing personal information for people. I will never tell you how it works.
Really interesting, yeah. So, but I'm gonna definitely have to have a little chat with you and Connie off air. That channeling session. And can people come to you when they're like? Now, I know you don't do a lot of personal channeling sessions because you're working on the books and you do have a life with the store and everything else. But could people come to you and use their channeling session as something to help them, figure out what the heck is going on in their lives, why their lives are so.
Yeah, we do channeling over Skype with people, and we do it to help others. It's our schedules are a little tight, but we do it. There's a page on personal channeling on the website. It gives you all the information if you decide you want to try to set up a time with us.
Okay. Cool. Talk to you about that later. But yeah, because that could be for me interesting on the learning part aspect of it, but also interesting because I would like to have connected. And do you have to, like, I know when people go to mediums or psychics, they say, do you have a specific question? And you cannot choose one specific, like I can't go to a medium and say, okay, I want to speak to my mom, because it's not always mom that comes out, it's whoever comes forward. Is that the same way it works with the channeling board?
Well, we have no control over it, but what I tell my clients are, for 2 nights before you come to us, you pray for the presence that you would like to have. You pray and you ask your guide, if you want to talk to your mother, to say, can you please arrange for my mother to be present in 2 nights? And I have questions I would like to ask her. And we have a pretty high percentage of being able to hit the spirits that we're looking for.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, now I asked you about the most interesting non-celebrity guest that you've ever channeled, and now I want to know who is the most interesting celebrity guest that you've channeled. Go ahead.
Well, it would be very hard for me just to select one.
Okay, everybody's going to ask. The top one is, have you ever channeled Elvis?
Channeled who?
Elvis Presley.
Oh.
No.
No? Okay. Well,
we've done Buddy Holly. We've had sessions with Buddy Holly, and the guy that was the head of the Monkees. Can't remember his name. Don't ever get old.
Davy
Jones. Davy Jones. Yeah, we did a session with Davy Jones.
I used to watch some stuff.
We've done, Buddy Holly was quite interesting. I think the celebrity that I enjoyed talking to the most was probably President Kennedy. We asked, I wanted to write the chapter and I had all my questions made up for him. And we asked, I said, would it be possible to speak with President Kennedy? The board goes to yes. And I said, is that you, Mr. President? Yes. And I said, how would you want me to refer to you as as President Kennedy, or how do you want me to call you? And he comes back and he answers, just call me Jack. So I was on a first name basis with President Kennedy.
Nice.
It was a wonderful interview. Told us who killed him, where the shot came from, who was behind it. Lyndon Johnson was behind everything, and how they framed Oswald. And the chapter in the conspiracy book about it is very, very interesting because he gave us the information, and then I went back and did all the research, and I could actually tie all the names in on different conspiracy theories. All of these names actually did appear in different writings or so forth. He said that the kill shot was fired by a guy by the name of Frank Sturgis, and it came from the roof above the 6th floor. That the 6th floor depository room was set up, but the kill shot actually took place from the roof overhead.
Now, these and everything that you, I'm trying to put the link back into your site so people don't have to go back and forth. Okay.
You were just very garbled there. We didn't understand what you said.
That's because I was mumbling.
That narrows it down.
Yep. I do that sometimes when I get sometimes I get trying to do one thing and 2 things at the same time. It's like, forget it. Are you able to verify everything that you get in a channeling session? Or has there been times where you haven't been able to verify it with the earthly presence type of thing?
No, I'm usually pretty good going into these things with research, and I'll have a detailed list. For instance, when we channeled with King Richard III, he had come to us right after they found his body over in England, and wanted to tell his story. So we asked for King Richard, and he comes in and he's actually speaking to us in Old English with the I's and the nays and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, you need to tell me something that I know I'm truly speaking to King Richard. Mm-hmm. And he spells out the word farthingale. Well,
Farthingale?
Yes, he was raised in Farthingale Castle.
Oh.
So that was this little detail that no one would have known. But, no, we tied him down. We make sure that we got the right guy here, because we have had people impersonating others, and it's we question them thoroughly. And by the time I ever put anything into print, you will find out that I have really researched it, and I'm fairly confident of what we're putting down.
Can you remember one of the ones that you had an impersonator, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I'll give you the last one we had.
Okay.
We had channeled with a saint called Saint Martin of Tours, and a vehement supporter of the Catholic Church. And a lot of the information that we're currently being given for this new book is quite negative towards the Catholic Church, because they actually controlled the Gospels for 1,200 years, and a lot of control over what went into them.
Yeah.
And he is attempting to protect the church that I don't put this information out. So one evening we're channeling, and he comes in and tries to pretend that he's Jesus. And I mean, when we're channeling with somebody like that, the energy feel is spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an emotional thing, and we could tell neither Connie nor I were feeling his energy, and nor was the letters coming to us forceful enough. So we forced him to tell us who he really was. Mm-hmm. But they will come in and try to mislead you. And it's amazing how when some of these souls are on the other side, they are still trying to do the same thing when they were over here. And Martin hadn't been here since I think around 400 AD. So he's been trying to protect the Catholic Church for a long time.
Well, I was raised Catholic, and I have I think the Bible, I can only take percentage of what it is, because the Bible was transcribed. How many Bibles are there out there that have all been transcribed by man? So we don't have the original, for me, because everybody adds their own twists. Like, you can't, it's paraphrasing. You can't put it down exactly word for word, because everybody's going to put their own little twist on it. So again, when you say that there's a lot that Jesus is teaching you in this new book, it's because it's more, it's not coming down through 6 different people to come to you. So
Well, I can take even a little further than that. We actually channeled with Pope Sylvester I, who was the Pope in 325 AD, who was then the leader of the Catholic Church, or what was to become the Catholic Church, when Constantine selected the Gospels. And he was on the conference at Nicaea, and we talked to a man that had firsthand information of how the Gospels got picked. And he told us that there were approximately 300 Gospels presented, of which 27 were selected. And that Jesus himself had a Gospel that was written by Peter. And that the Gospel of Jesus was rejected because in his own Gospel he spoke of an alien presence and reincarnation. And Constantine did not want the people to hear that type of preaching. And the actual Gospel of Jesus was not accepted and was subsequently destroyed.
That's my next question.
So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what kind of a foundation the Bible had when it was started.
Yeah. Nancy in the chat room says, I joined a little late, so perhaps someone has already asked this question. I'm just wondering, why do spirits want to talk to the living? And is it so that is it just to hang or to chat, or is there something more important when they come to visit and connect?
All the above. For instance, General Patton came through because he wanted his story to be told. Mm-hmm. And we provided the channel for him to do it. When we're doing a channeling session, all of a sudden we will get somebody's name. And we'll say, are you here for somebody in the room? And they will say, no, we're just passing through. And that spirit just simply wanted people to know that they're there.
Yes, like, hey, I'm here.
Yes, or we might get a family member that has a specific message. Just like the story I told earlier of the baby that died in vitro and wanted to get a name. So it's all kinds of reasons. There's no single reason why they want to talk to us. Sometimes it'll be, I will ask them for the questions. When we spoke to Butch Cassidy, and I think he would have been quite happy not to tell his story, but he was really friendly once he came in. Okay. Butch was a nickname with him. So when he came in, I said, how would you like me to refer to you? And he said, call me Leroy. And his proper name was Leroy. His middle name was Leroy Parker. So, when the guy comes in and says, call me Leroy, which is his middle name, I got a pretty good assurance that I got the right spirit. And we had a great conversation. Butch Cassidy was probably one of the most intelligent outlaws of the entire West. And he was very, very proud of the fact that he had never had to kill anybody. He was actually a very gentle person.
Okay.
For an outlaw. But I thoroughly enjoyed talking to him.
And one of the other people that you channeled was General George Patton. And I like the highlighted part was that he did not die in Germany.
That is correct. When I first contacted, or I thought I was behind contacting him, I thought I was just simply looking to see who was behind his murder. Whether it was there are rumors that the Russians had him killed, the German underground had him killed, and I was just trying to simply solve that part of the mystery. Well, he comes in and he's telling me an entirely different story. In that it was actually an assassination attempt by the Americans, and our officers in charge over there were behind this whole thing, and that they attempted to break his neck to kill him and make it look like it was the Nazi underground, but that they really only paralyzed him. And instead, that he's really not buried over in Europe, that they actually brought him over here and kept him prisoner in hospitals over in the United States for like 18 years. And that he even gave us the addresses of the hospitals and the names of the nurses that took care of him over here. So
were you able to go and verify, like, speak with the nurses or the nurses' families or whatever?
Oh, that took place too long ago, and it just all covered up. So I really couldn't verify all of it. But what I did do is I printed it as he told it to me.
Okay.
And then I was blown away with the guy. We actually wound up with 3 different sessions with him.
Okay.
So I asked the guys after the first session, I said, how come we were so successful in talking to him? Why did he pick me for this story? And the guide came back and he said, it's because you had prior lives together.
Oh.
So I find out that the soul of George Patton is actually part of our soul family. And I asked the question, I said, well, when and how was I with him? And the answer came back, you and Patton were brothers in 400 AD and fought in the Persian army together. And then in another lifetime, he was apparently my uncle in another lifetime. So, what started that whole conversation is at the end of the first session, I said, I want to thank you for coming through for us. And he ended the session by saying, no, it was I that chose you. And that's what triggered that whole conversation where I questioned it and found out that Patton was actually part of my soul family.
So you've, in this respect, Patton was part of your soul family, so he got to choose you. Again, in connection with the question that was asked before, do you think that certain spirits come through for certain people because for one reason or another, either soul family connection or there's an easier connection or something that they're somehow connected or supposed to be connected?
Yeah, well, for one thing, they tell us that I asked the question one night. I said, why, of the guys, I said, why are they coming through for us like this? And the answer came back, because they are drawn to your light. And I had no idea what they were talking about there. But apparently when we open these channels, it's very easy for them to communicate on them, and they want to take advantage of it while they can.
Texas Girl in the chat room says, how did you learn to contact the spirits? Was it always this way, or did you develop your link?
No, I was a non-believer until I was about 60 years old. It was owning this store, this antique gallery that we have, that educated me, because it was so haunted. The spirits started coming through to me. They would show that things would take place. We did an investigation, professional investigation here, and I sat in on it, not knowing, having any idea what was going on. Mm-hmm. And we just had so much take place that it blew me away. Started doing my own photography, got great pictures of ghosts. We're 8 miles from the Gettysburg battlefield, so I started spending time out there with a camera, and it just became phenomenal what was taking place. And all of this was preordained. This was almost everything in my life has been laid out to bring us to these moments and to the channeling that we're now doing at the highest level.
So were you, okay, you said you were a skeptic before this, in your early years. Were you sensitive to it? Did you, like, just sort of like brush off, like, oh, it's a coincidence, oh, it's nothing, or whatever? Like, yeah, like an empath.
I never paid any attention to it. I mean, I have a scientific background. I have a civil engineering license, a business management degree. I have a minor in statistics, minor in geology, and I was even CEO of a stone quarry company for quite a while. So it just never dawned on me, I guess. I was busy doing other things, and once we got out of all that, things started to just fall together. And when I started spending time here at the store, I found out these spirit presence made themselves aware. It was all laid out. One particular spirit at the store, name was Jeffrey Silverman. And when I started experimenting with the ghost box, he would come through and speak to us. Just like two people in the room. Mm-hmm. I have a video on one of the websites where he answers his name and he actually yells it at you over this ghost box. Once we learned to channel, I found out that Jeffrey was with me in a prior life, and that he and I had actually been Confederate soldiers over at Gettysburg, and he reincarnated around the turn of the century and actually worked in this building when it was a shoe factory. And he passed in 1946, and his spirit remained here knowing that I was going to buy the building. And he was the one that helped lead me with all this information. So there is so much that has gone on in my life that was preordained that I had no comprehension of. I wrote quite a bit about this in my Afterlife book, which was the second book. So there's a lot of things about the chapter on Jeffrey in there. And I show you pictures of him and everything. It's
so you're going to have me write all your books now.
We're just leading an amazing life. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Okay, Nancy in the chat room says, how does spirit hold its identity and for how long? I believe in reincarnation, so can I be a spirit in communication with you as someone as how does spirit hold its identity and for how long? I believe in reincarnation, so can I be a spirit in communication with you as someone as well as being the person you are doing the session with?
It is possible to have a split soul, that your soul can be present in two bodies at the same time. When you're on the other side, your soul assumes the identity of the last life that you lived. So you're in association with your soul family from your last lifetime. I don't think that you can go back into prior lifetime soul families, if that makes any sense.
Does that answer your question, Nancy? And you're welcome to explain. Don't say TP, but then it's like toilet paper, so it's a big problem. I have a question and just not my brain. But they can come through into this life. But can they come through into this lifetime?
Well, they can do a walk into a body. A soul can come into it. And a soul can do what's known as a walk-in and come into a body and take over, and that other soul exits. So it's very, very complicated. I understand maybe half of it, but every time I think I understand what's going on, I find out how little I really know about it. It's an amazing process.
So true, so true. Welcome, DJ. Can anybody learn to use the board?
I think so. It took us years to perfect it.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you teach people how to use the board?
No. I have instructions on the website, but we don't physically get involved with teaching people.
Okay. Now, do you? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it becomes a matter of time. I've started this new Facebook group called Words of God Then and Now that I'm administrator of, and we're doing a lot of our current messages on that group. And besides managing that, writing my 6th book and doing radio interviews and trying to keep a business above ground, my time is kind of getting short. Not to mention the fact that I'm old.
Totally. I'm going to put the link for your Facebook group into the chat room as well. So if anybody wants to join it, second, copy. There you go. Okay, in the chat room is the link to the group Words of God Now. So join it. I am part of it as well, so if you're not sure where it is, you'll see my little face come out there somewhere. So now I know you said you have we'll say instructions on how to learn to use the spirit board, but would you recommend somebody can just because nobody can just pick it up and do it? They have to.
I don't see any problem with you trying it. Bear in mind, our board is very special. It has a glass surface on it, and we use a glass planchette, and we lubricate it with lemon oil. So it's very easy for our board to pick up spirit energy, where a regular Ouija has got felt on cardboard, and there's a lot of friction with it.
Okay.
If you can focus and pray, I don't think there's any problem with it. But
a guide. PJ.
Yeah, but I mean, your guide, you can ask for your guides, and your guides may be waiting for their chance to talk to you. I don't see any problem with people trying it, but just don't expect great results. When you watch us do it, the glass almost flies. Sometimes it goes so fast it's hard to write the letters down. So don't expect it's going to do that right off, but I don't see any problem with you trying as long as you do your prayer of protection and ask for your guide to help you.
Thing is, you have to be able to clear your mind and let the guides come through, because the guides or the souls that you're communicating with are the ones that are actually producing the energy to make that glass move.
Okay. And the glass moves the way you see. Like I said, I've never seen a Ouija board, but I've never actually been in the vicinity of somebody actually doing it. But you see it on the TV where everybody has their hands on the board, on the little thingamajiggy, and that moves. Is that the same way that you do it with your board?
Connie and I get on each side of the table, across from each other, and we put each put one or two fingers on the glass, and we ask our questions. And the glass will always come back to the center. And each question, the glass will just take off and go to the letters and spell out your answers. Now, as I say, in a lot of instances now, I'm also hearing them say the letters. So, well, we get a good verification whether we have the correct letters or not. But, I don't see a problem with people trying it as long as they do it as long as they are properly protected. And I will say this, if you're an atheist, I wouldn't take a shot at it. Because it's your faith in God that keeps you protected. And,
that's true. That's true.
That's the main reason why we don't have any problems. Because we're very confident in our faith and we have zero doubt. So we know we're watched over, and so we enter into this with that knowledge. And it's been 100% so far for us.
It's interesting. Now, when you say
my shoulder, we just had a ghost touch my shoulder here.
Okay.
I just asked Connie whether she hit me on the shoulder. No, we just had a ghost here in the room.
Nice. So they want to be on cam.
It just did it again. Probably Clarissa.
Clarissa she's distracted me.
Yeah, distracted me a bit too. To say, did you see me turn around real fast?
Yeah. It's okay. I saw. No, I'm going to ask this. You guys don't smoke, right?
No, we do not smoke.
And you don't have any incense burning or sage burning or anything of the sort?
Oh no, we don't do that.
Because in the beginning of our show, I'm going to have to go back and look again. I'm sure I saw a wisp of smoke going across. I
have no doubt. I mean,
we have orbs all over the place here.
And we have ecto around here all the time. And we've had a couple of them standing here listening to us. So I've gotten a little more sensitive so I know what's going on. But no, when we do the shows from here in the office, we always have a few visitors stop in.
They wanted to be on camera. They wanted to be on angel-meadows. Talk about this. I wish I could remember the question I had in my mind. But
that was a little distracting.
Yeah, but it's a good distraction. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with a distraction.
Our ghosts here are our best friends. We tell them we love to have them here. They're welcome. And we've even told them when we sell the store and go back out to our home in Utah that they're welcome to come with us.
Ooh, when are you planning on selling the store?
As soon as possible. I'd love to.
It's for sale now.
So if anybody watching this show wants to buy.
Oh, it's a fun place. If you're into the paranormal, there's nowhere like it.
Have you ever had other paranormal teams want to come over and do an investigation at your store?
Yeah, but I tell them there's nothing to investigate. I have cameras downstairs. We just sit and watch them continuously. Okay. I did a show out of Philadelphia a couple months ago, and it's a group of investigators there, and I let them come down, not to do an investigation, but I took them down. We have a portal down in the basement. And I took them downstairs, turned on all my cameras, and just let them play around. And the guy said that he had done over 500 investigations and had never seen activity like this. So I can sit here in my office on a ghost box and talk to him anytime I want.
Okay, I'm jealous.
Yeah, they've never been in a situation where you could do an on-demand conversation on a ghost box.
You have, we may want, it's like the saying is, you get what you need and not what you want. You don't have to, I may want to talk to so-and-so and so-and-so, but, somebody needs to get through, or somebody says, no, not tonight. I'm going to go over and play with the cats, or whatever the case is.
You got it.
Well, I think I've kind of sort of run out of questions. Even though I had a list of questions, we bounce back and forth. Like I said, my shows are never. Whoops, wrong mouse again. What's the problem with having two mouses? Is it mice? Whatever, I don't know. If anybody in the chat room has a question, please type it in. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Barry doesn't bite. I, on the other hand, do. And if Barry tries to, Connie's right to smack him. Or it goes behind him. But, so now you've got one book in with the publishers. You're writing the other book with Jesus.
Correct. Yeah, and it's interesting because I did the Spirit Speak Conspiracies, and I started doing a book on Spirit Speak of Unsolved Crimes. We had done the D.B. Cooper crime. They told me who Jack the Ripper was, his name. And we were going through this. And one evening they come in and say, we're not going to do this anymore. You have a new mission. And that's when we started channeling with the saints again and started this book on Jesus. But they shut me right down on the old crime book. So there'll be when we get done with the Jesus book, I'll probably go back and try to get it done. But it's amazing. The guys just said, no, we're not going to do crimes anymore. We have something more important for you. And that's what we're doing.
It's just put on hold. It's not completely ended. Scott in the chat room says, do you get a lot of problems with evangelical types?
OMG. Let's see. Last night I was speaking blasphemy. I was a crackpot. And that's just last night. So, yes. But they do not last long in my group.
Oh, they were in the group? How rude.
They come in, I'm real clear. If you're going to hang on every word of the Gospels in the Bible as being accurate to the teachings of Jesus, then do not come into my group.
Yep. Because
I have access to the saints in Jesus, and I will tell you the real thing. In my group, I post what they tell me he preached. He preached love and understanding. He did not preach fear. All this fear crap was added through the years, and he is trying to become. He wants people to know what he really means and what he stands for, and why we have a lot of the problems we have today. And he's answered an amazing amount. They have answered an amazing amount of questions for me.
Yeah. And
it's I will modestly say this is going to be an outstanding book, and it's not from my writing ability.
Yeah. It's not that I'm saying you have bad writing ability, but yes, I agree. It'll be an outstanding book. Okay. Yes, Scott, control the masses and generation, and income generation by the churches.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'm going to post a little thing about the Catholic Church tomorrow that'll get some people excited. But we have been told for several years that this Pope would also retire before his time. The next Pope would be another short-termer, and that the Church would basically fall and reorganize. And if you're watching the news, are you seeing that it's on the news just today that a bunch of the Catholic officials have accused the Pope of heresy?
No.
Yes. And it's a big deal. I mean, they're definitely on him, coming after him because of him trying to allow divorced people back into the church. And but it's in the news right now. So, and they just told us a couple of weeks ago the same thing. Mm-hmm. That the church would be reorganizing and that the people would force the reorganization. And it's all coming together. Just exactly what they told us is starting to happen again.
Yeah.
Sometimes they give us these predictions and boy, they are dead on with
them. Nancy in the chat room says, did anyone who you made a connection with speak in a different language?
No, they only speak in your language. As I said, King Richard III spoke in Old English, terminology, I, yea, and you will do, and all that stuff. That's as close as we have ever come to a foreign language.
Any plans for a prediction book, or do you already have one?
I have a newsletter, which you can sign up for free on my website. And in that, when we get predictions, I put it out in my newsletter. Because I am always getting predictions. And I have to sort through which ones I want to put out. But sometimes they tell me things that I'm afraid to print. But the newsletter is the best way to come up with my predictions.
Yeah, because you could have a book of predictions, but by the time the book comes out, the prediction time may have passed. And you can just say, well, you took this, after the fact.
Exactly. That's why I only put them in the newsletter.
Okay, Nancy just asked because she wondered because sometimes it's hard to understand them. If it was hard to understand, that's why she asked if there was a different language.
No, they're very clear with their messages when they come in. I mean, these guys have got superior intellect. Like when you talk to St. Augustine, he's very clear, and you know that you're talking to an official guy,
Okay.
And sometimes they don't have a whole lot of sense of humor, and I'll ask them questions they don't want to answer, and I can always tell when I cross the line because this conversation will start, now, Barry, and then I get my lecture for trying to take them places they don't want to go. So, I'm talking to some of the most important people that ever lived. So it's very humbling. I mean, the first time we talked to President Kennedy, I was stuttering. I didn't know what to say when we realized we actually had his spirit in there. And in one session, we had the Holy Mother come in and give us a message. And the first time you realize that you are truly speaking with the Lord Jesus, it's overwhelming, and it takes a lot of getting used to.
Even for those people who don't believe in Jesus and God and those names, you still have to understand that they are still a higher being. It's an ascended master or whomever the case may be that you're connecting to. It's still a connection that's like anybody can do, but at this moment in time, you're the only one doing it.
I don't know. There's got to be other people out there doing it. I mean, we get a lot of unique information, but
yeah.
I mean, it's they told me once they started to define our path, the guide made the statement to me. He said there will be those of you that will think of you as either a prophet or a nut job. And let me tell you, it's happening.
Yeah.
And I think it's more the nut job thing, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what? I think that's a compliment because there's a lot of nut jobs out there, and I'm quite pleased to be a nut job. I was called, what was I called? I can't remember what, a devil worshiper because I made the mistake of to this gentleman, and I used to turn my little stick. That I said an angel was female. I said she. And he was like, oh my God, angels are male, blah, blah, blah. I said, hang on a second. I said, angels are not male or female. They're neither, but it's just the term that fits the moment, that fits the message is what I use. I don't say, I'm not going to go he, she, or it. It's just at that moment. So he was like, no. He was just sort of ranting and raving on and going. I said, well, okay, if you don't believe in what I say, why are you following me? He says, because my mother and my sister believe in you, and I got to see their stuff. Shit in my newsfeed. I was like, then just put it on limited access, darling. And then he started to somebody else sort of came in and tried to, defend me. And this gentleman decided to attack the woman personally, And I said that was it, because I'm a free believer that people are allowed to say what they want to say, but so long as you're being you're not attacking somebody because you don't believe in what they believe in, or, then you can say what you want to say. But once you start attacking somebody for their beliefs or their non-beliefs or whatever, then I'm sorry, but so long, farewell. Yes, respect is big word. Aretha Franklin, respect. So for me, that's, So, but somebody can call me in that job. Somebody can call me whatever the heck they want to call me. I have no problems with that. You know, as long as you're respectful about it. You want to call me a nut job? Fine. But if you call me all kinds of names before the word nut job, I might have problems.
Yeah, it better be Mr. Nut Job.
Thank you very much. I have Her Highness Nut Job. Well, we are about the end of our show. First off and foremost, thank you very, very much. And did you notice how well behaved I was? I didn't pick on you much today, Barry.
I noticed that.
I was trying to be a good girl. We can always do that off camera. No, I'm trying to behave. But thank you both very, very much for agreeing and for coming on again. And I would love to have you come back and do a spirit, do a channeling session. If everything works out, we'll look into your schedule and see what it is. This is going to be the same time. This will be the time of my show. It's not going to change. But I do make exceptions for, if you'd rather do it during the day, then we'll make exceptions. We'll figure this out. But for right now, I thank you very much.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Enjoyed it.
And everybody in the chat room who was here and those who have left, Brian, Diane, the guest who's been here since the beginning, and you, my guests, and Nancy and Scott in Texas Pearl, thank you very much for hanging out. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any other recommendations of something you want to hear or see, just message me on Facebook or message me in Intuitalks. And I thank you very, very much. And good night, everybody.